For the aliens in space to look at it and go, these humans just putting all that stuff, it's not a good look for us, is it?
No, it's
because they will do that. They'll look at it and think, look what you've done.
Absolutely. If we're not going to do it ourselves, then whatever's out there could do. So we certainly, if we want to master space, we've got to keep our own environment pretty tidy.
Lovely to see you here this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles.
Eamon, thank you. Dr. Eamon Kerins there from the Jodrell Bank Centre. You are watching Breakfast. The time now is 8:59.
Live from London, this is BBC News. After one of the deadliest shootings in the country's history, this is the scene live in Prague. A gunman opened fire at the Charles University on Thursday, killing 14 people. Local media have named the suspect as David Kozak. Police are investigating his social media posts. The US says it is now ready to support a crucial UN resolution on Gaza hours after the vote is delayed for a fourth time. The British teenager, missing for 6 years before he was found in France, has spoken for the first time after returning to the UK. And tickets at the ready. It's El Gordo. Spain grinds to a halt for its Christmas mega lottery, with almost €2.6 billion up for grabs. Hello, I'm Nicky Schiller. We start this hour in the Czech Republic, where the government has declared that Saturday will be a national day of mourning, following a mass shooting in which at least 14 people were killed and dozens more injured. The shooting happened in the heart of Prague as the gunman opened fire at Charles University's Faculty of Arts in the Old Town, a major tourist attraction. Authorities evacuated staff and students who were told to stay put and lock themselves in classrooms. As you can see from these pictures, some climbed onto rooftops and window ledges to escape the gunfire. Police said the gunman was a 24-year-old student who's been named by local media as David Kozak. The shooting is the deadliest in the Czech Republic's history, in a country where gun crime is relatively rare. Sarah Rainsford reports from Prague. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Let's take a look now at some of the other stories making news. Ukraine's capital, Kiev, suffered a Russian drone attack early on Friday. Kiev's mayor reported strikes on several residential districts. At least 2 residential buildings in the city were struck by falling debris during the attack. At least 1 person has been taken to hospital. The strike marks the 6th drone attack on Kiev this month. The American actor Vin Diesel has been accused of sexual assault by his former personal assistant. In a lawsuit, Asta Johansson claims the incident happened during the filming of Fast 5 in 2010. A lawyer for the actor, whose real name is Mark Sinclair, said his client denies this claim in its entirety. Eurostar says it is operating a normal timetable today after a last-minute strike by French Eurotunnel workers caused the cancellation of 30 services between London, Paris and Brussels on Thursday. Eurostar said it had reached an agreement with the trade unions. They've said they'll operate an additional 2 trains per day until Christmas Day. You're live with BBC News. The British teenager, missing for 6 years before he was found in France, has spoken for the first time after returning to the UK. Alex Batty has now given an interview to The Sun newspaper, explaining how he started to have doubts about his nomadic lifestyle. He was just 11 when he went missing in 2017 with his mum and granddad. Well, with more on this, we can speak to our reporter Nick Johnson, who is in the newsroom. So Nick, what has Alex Batty been saying? This is the scene live as that draw continues. It takes about 4 hours in all, and the children there drawing the numbers, and we'll sing them as well. We will keep you updated with the winners here on BBC News. Hello, this is BBC News, the headlines. The US says it is now ready to support a crucial UN resolution on Gaza, hours after the vote was delayed for a fourth time. The UK government is rolling back plans to hike the minimum salary amount needed for visas for foreign family members. And sportswear giant Nike's shares slump after it promised to cut costs by $2 billion in 3 years. Let's get more now on one of our top stories. The US has indicated that it is ready to support the latest draft of a UN Security Council resolution about the war in Gaza. But the US ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, has not clarified if she would vote yes or abstain. The wording of the resolution has been significantly watered down. It's the fourth time the vote has been postponed this week. It had been delayed since Monday, as member states have been trying to work out a draft that the United States won't veto. Our correspondent Shaima Khalil has the latest. That's Michelle Fleury in New York. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.
BBC News, bringing you different stories from across the UK. For more stories from across the UK, head to the BBC News website.
You're live with BBC News, I'm Nicky Schiller. Here in the UK, the government has changed its plans to raise the minimum salary needed to be earned in order to bring foreign family members to live in the United Kingdom. Currently, applications need to earn just over £18,500 to apply for a family visa. That was due to rise to almost £39,000 in April. However, a new government document suggests this rate would be lowered to £29,000 in its initial implementation. Our political correspondent Ione Wells has more on what these changes mean for both British citizens and migrants working in the UK. You're watching BBC News, and I just want to take you back to Prague and the scene there after 14 people were shot dead at a university yesterday. You can see that people are leaving flowers at the scene and also lighting candles. We have just had a bit of an update on the people who were the victims of the gunman. 14 people shot dead and 25 people were injured. The Czech Interior Ministry has just said that one of those who died in the shooting is the head of the Institute of Musicology at the Charles University Faculty of Arts, where that shooting happened. Lenka Halvakova, who has died. Also, they've said that 3 of the injured in the shooting are foreign citizens. 1 was from the Netherlands and 2 were from the United Arab Emirates. So that's an update from the Czech Interior Ministry. We are expecting a news conference in the next hour from the police, where we assume that they will update us both, as we've heard, on the victims, but also whether there is any more detail on the gunman. He was a 24-year-old student. So we will keep an eye on that and bring you the latest on that news conference. We'll also keep an eye on something happening in Spain. It is called El Gordo. It is the biggest lottery in the world, and it is currently being drawn out at the moment, and lots of people glued to their televisions in Spain hoping to win part of the €2.5 billion prize. Let's get the weather now with Sarah Keith-Lucas.
Hello there. We have seen the longest night of the year. It's the winter solstice today, and from today onwards, one of the warmest Christmas Eves on record. Into Christmas Day, and it still looks like it's unsettled. Could be a bit of rain in both the north and the south. Things do look a bit colder but brighter by Boxing Day.
Live from London, this is BBC News. After one of the deadliest shootings in the country's history, this is the scene in Prague. A gunman opened fire at the Charles University on Thursday, killing 13 people. Local media have named the suspected gunman as David Cossack. Police are investigating his social media posts. The US says it's now ready to support a crucial UN resolution on Gaza, hours after the vote was delayed for a fourth time. The British teenager, missing for 6 years before he was found in France, has spoken publicly for the first time after returning to the UK. And tickets at the ready, it's El Gordo. Spain grinds to a halt for its Christmas mega lottery, with almost €2.6 billion up for grabs. Hello, I'm Nicky Schiller. We start this hour in the Czech Republic, where the government has declared that Saturday will be a national day of mourning following a mass shooting in which 13 people were killed and dozens more injured. In the past few minutes, the country's Interior Ministry said one of the dead in yesterday's shooting is the head of the Institute of Musicology of Charles University Faculty of Arts. This is the scene where we're expecting a live news conference from the police very shortly. The person who died, Lenka Hlvaka, was the head of the Faculty of Arts at Charles University. The Interior Ministry also said that 3 of the injured in the shooting are foreign citizens, 1 from the Netherlands and 2 from the United Arab Emirates. All the deceased were Czech nationals. Well, the shooting happened in the heart of Prague as the gunman opened fire at Charles University's Faculty of Arts in the city's Old Town, a major tourist attraction. Authorities evacuated staff and students who were told to stay put and lock themselves in classrooms. As you can see from the picture, some climbed onto rooftops and window ledges to escape the gunfire. Police said the gunman was a 24-year-old student who's been named by local media as David Cossack. He also died at the scene. Our first report this hour is from Sarah Rainsford in Prague. So there we have the police press conference that's being held in Prague. As you heard, that first question from the media was about the number of victims. There has been a little bit of confusion about the numbers, but the police there saying that there were 14 people who had died plus the gunman, and that there were 25 other people injured. You can see that people are lighting candles at the scene outside the university, Charles University, in the centre of Prague. Now, there was quite a lot of detail that came out during that news conference. First of all, the police talked about how they got to the gunman in the first place. They said that they learnt that he was on the roof of the university and that they surrounded him when they got there. They said they had some trouble finding the roof, but when they did get there, they encircled him from all directions. It was at that point, they say, that he took his own life. So confirmation from the police that the gunman shot himself. They talked about how it was very chaotic at the scene, and in particular, students had barricaded themselves into rooms of the university building as they had been told to, but that then complicated it when the police were trying to get them out, because they had to use force to actually get through the barricades to let the students out. Also, a number of the students had their hands in the air. Now, the police defended the fact that they got the students to hold their hands in the air because they said they had had information that there may be other people at that time, not just a lone gunman. They had reports of a lady, a man, a woman with him, and they had no way to confirm it. So that is why they got the students to hold their hands up as they exited the building. The police said that they had identified all of the victims and that their families had been informed. And you also heard the police defending their actions. The officer in charge saying that police got there within 4 minutes and prevented more bloodshed from happening. They also confirmed that the dozens of officers were working to establish the facts. We will keep you updated on the latest from Prague here on BBC News. Live from London, this is BBC News. As the Czech Republic reels from its worst mass shooting in its modern history, police say the gunman who killed 14 people shot himself as they were closing in on him. The US says it is now ready to support a crucial UN resolution on Gaza, hours after the vote was delayed for a fourth time. The British teenager, missing for 6 years before he was found in France, has spoken publicly for the first time after returning to the UK. And do you have the lucky ticket? Spain grinds to halt for its Christmas mega lottery El Gordo, with almost €2.6 billion up for grabs. Hello, I'm Nicky Schiller. The first of the 14 victims from yesterday's mass shooting in the Czech Republic has been identified in the past hour. Czech authorities confirmed the head of the Institute of Musicology at Charles University, Lenka Halvalka, was one of those shot dead. The Czech Interior Ministry added that 3 people injured are foreign citizens, 1 from the Netherlands and 2 from the United Arab Emirates. All those killed were Czech nationals. The shooting happened in the heart of Prague as the gunman opened fire at Charles University's Faculty of Arts in the Old Town, which is a major tourist attraction. Some staff and students locked themselves inside classrooms. Others climbed onto rooftops and window ledges, as you can see, to escape the gunfire. Police said the gunman took his own life following the attack. He's been named by local media as 24-year-old student David Kozak. A member of Prague police described the response to the incident using video recorded by officers' body cameras. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Let's take a look now at some of the other stories making news. People in Scotland are taking in XL bully dogs as England introduces new restrictions from the 31st of December. The Scottish Government has not banned the breed, creating concerns about a potential loophole regarding dangerous dogs. The ban in England and Wales follows several attacks. Owners insist the dogs make lovable pets, despite their appearance. In England, junior doctors are in the final day of their 72-hour walkout, part of a long-running dispute over pay. The strike is due to end tomorrow morning. The doctors' union, the British Medical Association, is calling for a rise of 35% to make up for below inflation deals since 2008. The government says that that's unaffordable. And crowds formed at Stonehenge to welcome the winter solstice sunrise, marking the shortest and longest night of the year. The solstice is celebrated by cultures around the world. It's one of the few occasions that the site is open for people. Hello, you're watching and live with BBC News. The British teenager, missing for 6 years before he was found alive in France, has spoken publicly for the first time since returning to the UK. Alex Batty gave an interview to The Sun newspaper explaining how he started to have doubts about his nomadic lifestyle. He was just 11 when he disappeared in 2017 with his mother and grandfather. Our reporter Nick Johnson told me more about what Alex Batty had said to The Sun.
This Christmas ceremony, which is so important to so many Spaniards.
Guy, we will keep our fingers crossed for everyone in Spain as El Gordo happens. We will keep an eye on the winners here on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
On the brink of recession, revised figures show the UK economy contracted between July and September. And a crackdown on gaming. Chinese regulators announced plans to stop gamers from spending too much money, sending shares in tech giants tumbling. Hello, welcome to the business news, to World Business Report. Today I'm Vishala Sri-Pathma. Let's start here in the UK, where we've had revised economic figures for between July and September. It shows that the economy actually shrunk a bit by 0.1% after previous estimates suggested growth had actually been flat. Meanwhile, there was zero growth between April and June after it was first calculated to have grown by 0.2%. Now, why is this all important? Well, it could mean that the UK is at risk of recession. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, though, he's remaining optimistic. He says things are actually going to be better than what these numbers suggest. Is he correct? Well, we're going to find out now. We're going to speak to Jane Smith, who's a developed markets economist at ING Bank. Thanks very much for joining us, James. First of all, lots of commentators today talking about a mild recession. Can you explain to us what that means? Michelle Fleury in New York there. Let's take a look at some other news now. The White House says Nippon Steel's plans to buy US steel should be investigated on national security grounds, even though Japan is a close ally. In a statement, it also expressed concerns about the deal's potential impact on supply chain reliability. The $15 billion takeover of the 120-year-old US Steel would create one of the world's biggest steel companies. But USW, the powerful United Steelworkers Union, has also criticised the deal as being short-sighted. And China has signed off on the first direct delivery of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner in 4 years, in an indication that the strained US-China trade relations may be easing. Zhuanhe Airlines is one of China's largest privately owned carriers. It took a delivery of its newest 787 Dreamliner on Thursday in a boost for the US plane manufacturer. The delivery marks a breakthrough for Boeing, which has been largely shut out of China's aviation market in this last decade. All right, let's have a look at markets. That UK economy news, is it having an impact? FTSE 100 slightly higher this afternoon. It did start off the morning a bit in negative territory, but it seems to be pulling up now. The DAX fairly flat, as is the CAC. Brent crude oil, interestingly, is 0.94% up. Given all the news in the Red Sea, it's been pretty high this week. Well, that's it for us for World Business Report. Catch us a bit later on with all the latest business news. I'm Vishala Sri-Pathma.
Hello there, I'm Ollie Foster with the latest sports news. Arsenal have joined other Premier League sides in reaffirming their commitment to playing in UEFA's European competitions. Now, this follows yesterday's ruling by the European Court of Justice that the ban by UEFA and FIFA on clubs from joining the European Super League. Much more on the BBC Sport website, but from me and the rest of the team, goodbye.
Thanks to Ollie. You're watching BBC News. I'm Nicky Schiller. The government has changed its plans to double the minimum salary needed in order to bring foreign family members to the UK. Currently, applicants need to earn just over £18,500 to apply for a family visa. It was announced this month that the threshold would be increased to almost £39,000. But a new government document suggests the higher threshold would instead be £29,000 when implemented next year. Well, our political correspondent, Ione Wells, has more on what the changes mean for both British citizens and migrants working in the UK. Stay with BBC News. Lucy Hockings is up next with BBC News Now. First, though, let's take a look at the weather with Sarah Keith-Lucas.
Hello there. We have seen the longest night of the year.